friends, there are moments in life when the heart is torn and the soul feels its deepest wounds. The pain of being hurt by another, particularly by one we hold dear, can make even the strongest among us falter. Yet in these times of sorrow and confusion, there lies within each of us a power, a strength that can rise above the bitterness of such wounds. It is not the pain that defines us, but our response to it. When a woman hurts you, it is easy, my friends, to become ensnared in the trap of anger and resentment. The mind may race with thoughts of revenge, and the heart may cry out for justice. But I say unto you, to meet hurt with hurt is to perpetuate a cycle that never ends. It is a path to more sorrow, more bitterness, and more division. Instead, I counsel you to confuse her not with anger, nor with silence, but with an unexpected calmness. When she expects you to lash out, rise above. When she seeks to test your patience, show her the depth of your strength in restraint. Do not be quick to retaliate, for in this you show not your power but your weakness. The greatest power lies in the ability to remain composed, to face the storm with a steady hand and a steady heart. Confuse her with kindness in the face of cruelty. Let her see in your eyes not hatred, but understanding. This is not the weakness of submission, but the might of wisdom. Let her wonder how you can endure when others would crumble. Let her see that your spirit cannot be broken, for it is rooted in a place of dignity and respect that is not dependent on her actions. And my friends, let not your actions be guided by pride, for pride, like a roaring fire, will consume everything in its path, including yourself. Instead, let your heart be guided by compassion. Recognize that all are flawed, and none walk this earth without their share of mistakes. The hurt you feel may stem from her own struggles, from her own inner battles. You need not condone the harm done to you, but you may still seek understanding. And when you respond not with anger but with grace, when you meet hurt with calm, you may well find that the one who sought to hurt you will be shaken by the strength of your response. She will not understand at first, but in time, the wisdom of your actions will speak louder than any words. In your silence, she will hear a message that transcends all conflict, a message of resilience, of strength, and of a heart that refuses to be swayed by the tempests of the world. Thus I implore you, when faced with hurt, remember this: confusion is not a weapon of war, but a tool of peace. Confuse her, not by retaliation, but by the courage to rise above, to show her the power of kindness, patience, and wisdom. For in doing so you may well turn the tides of conflict into the winds of understanding. When you are hurt by another, particularly someone whom you care for, the temptation to respond with anger, frustration, or even a sense of betrayal can feel overwhelming. It is natural to want to defend oneself, to lash out in retaliation, to express the pain that has been inflicted upon you. But here lies the truth: responding with anger may seem like a justifiable response in the heat of the moment, but it is often a response that leads to greater harm, not only to the one who has wronged you, but also to yourself. Restraint in the face of hurt is a strength that many fail to recognize. The immediate impulse to fight back is understandable. After all, our emotions are powerful forces. We feel wronged, and in that moment, we want to make sure that the wrongdoer understands the gravity of their actions. However, when we allow our emotions to dictate our behavior, we risk losing sight of what truly matters: our integrity, our peace of mind, and the path toward healing. To respond with restraint does not mean that you are weak, nor does it mean that you are accepting the wrong that has been done. It is, rather, an act of wisdom. You are choosing not to let the actions of another dictate your emotional state or your behavior. When you hold back from reacting in anger, you are making a conscious decision to rise above the conflict and not be consumed by it. It is an acknowledgement that your response will define the outcome of the situation, and you choose to control that response, not allow it to be controlled by emotion or circumstance. In the heat of the moment, we often forget that our responses will have lasting consequences. The words we say in anger, the actions we take out of hurt, can cause irreparable damage. Words once spoken cannot be taken back, and actions once performed cannot be undone. The pain that we cause others in the heat of our fury often lingers far longer than the pain we originally experienced. By responding in anger, we only perpetuate the cycle of hurt. But when we choose restraint, we break that cycle. Instead of escalating the situation, we create an opening for understanding. By not engaging in the same level of hostility, we offer the opportunity for the situation to de-escalate. It is often in silence that clarity is found. When you do not immediately retaliate, you give both yourself and the person who has hurt you the space needed to reflect on the actions that have been taken. In that silence, you may find the strength to assess the situation with greater perspective and a deeper sense of peace. Furthermore, restraint requires strength. It is easy to give in to our impulses and let the floodgates of anger open wide. To hold back requires patience, self-control, and an awareness of the greater consequences. It is a form of personal mastery that many people struggle to cultivate. However, it is only when we cultivate this inner strength that we can truly grow, both as individuals and in our relationships with others. Restraint also allows for better decision-making. When we are not clouded by anger or the need for instant retaliation, we are able to think clearly. We can choose our words more carefully, and we can decide on actions that lead to positive outcomes rather than negative ones. The initial pain may cloud our judgment in the moment, but by holding back, we give ourselves the time needed to reflect and make choices that will serve us and others in the long run. In essence, restraint is the foundation of emotional intelligence. It is the ability to recognize that we do not always need to respond to everything that comes our way with immediate action or reaction. By learning the art of restraint, we learn how to control our emotions and not let them control us. This is not to say that we suppress or deny our feelings, but rather that we allow ourselves the space to process those feelings before acting on them. Thus, in the face of hurt, when the urge to lash out is strong, remember that restraint is not a sign of weakness. It is a powerful choice, a demonstration of inner strength, and a path to greater peace. It is the decision to choose how you will react in the face of adversity, not letting the actions of others dictate the course of your life. Through restraint, you hold the power to heal, to move forward, and to show both yourself and others that you are not easily swayed by the storms of life. When you are faced with hurt, especially from someone you care for, the natural instinct may be to respond with anger, bitterness, or a desire for revenge. The pain inflicted upon you can feel overwhelming, and the urge to make the other person feel the same hurt may seem like a form of justice. Yet, while the desire for retribution is deeply rooted in human emotion, the act of responding with cruelty or anger rarely brings the peace or resolution we seek. Instead, responding with kindness in the face of cruelty is a profound expression of strength and maturity. It is not a sign of weakness to choose to meet hurt with compassion. In fact, it requires far more courage and wisdom than acting out of anger or resentment. Kindness, when it feels undeserved, is not an easy thing to offer, but it is often the very thing that can transform a difficult situation. The one who has hurt you might expect you to lash out, to say things that will cause them to feel the same pain they have inflicted upon you. However, when you choose kindness, you offer something far more powerful than simple retaliation. You offer the possibility of healing. Kindness in response to hurt is not about excusing the wrong done to you or pretending that it didn't affect you deeply. It is, however, about making a conscious decision to not let the wrong define who you are or how you will respond. In the face of cruelty, showing kindness is not the same as being submissive. It is not about allowing someone to walk all over you or tolerating their harmful behavior without addressing it. Rather, it is about responding with grace, holding firm to your dignity and values, and letting the other person see that your character is not easily swayed by their actions. When you respond to hurt with kindness, you are also signaling that your actions and your peace of mind are not subject to the whims of others. You are demonstrating that, no matter what happens, you will continue to act in alignment with your values. The person who has hurt you may not understand your response immediately, and they may even see it as a weakness or an invitation to continue their behavior. But over time, your consistent kindness will speak volumes. It will send a message that you cannot be easily bent or broken, and that your peace cannot be disrupted by the actions of another. Moreover, responding with kindness allows you to move beyond the immediate conflict and into a space of healing. Holding on to anger or resentment only prolongs the pain and the bitterness. It keeps you tethered to the hurt, making it harder to let go and move forward. Kindness, on the other hand, opens the door to emotional freedom. It frees you from the cycle of pain and resentment and allows you to regain control of your emotions and your peace of mind. By choosing to offer kindness, you are letting go of the need for vengeance and embracing a path of growth and personal strength. In a world where the response to hurt is often to strike back, kindness can feel like a revolutionary act. It challenges the status quo of emotional warfare, offering a different way of dealing with conflict. It requires you to not only be aware of your own emotions, but also to understand that the person who has hurt you may also be struggling with their own pain, insecurities, or regrets. Responding with kindness acknowledges that, even in moments of conflict, there is space for empathy and understanding. This is not to say that we should tolerate harmful behavior or allow others to treat us poorly without consequence, but it does suggest that responding with empathy can lead to greater understanding and, in many cases, resolution. Furthermore, kindness in the face of hurt can act as a mirror, reflecting back the emotional maturity and self-control you possess. It is an affirmation of who you are, an expression of the integrity that defines you. By showing kindness, you reinforce the values you hold dear, and you remind yourself that you are not defined by the actions of others, but by the way you choose to respond. In essence, kindness is a tool of personal strength. It is the ability to remain rooted in your own character, to rise above the urge to react with anger, and to offer something better, a chance for healing, understanding, and growth. It may not always yield immediate results, and the person who has hurt you may not change overnight. But over time, kindness has the power to heal wounds, to build bridges, and to create a foundation for deeper connection and mutual respect. It is a reminder that, while we cannot control the actions of others, we always have control over how we choose to respond. And through kindness, we reclaim that control, setting ourselves free from the chains of hurt and leading the way to emotional peace. Pride is a powerful force. It is often viewed as a sign of strength, of standing tall in the face of adversity and demanding the respect one believes they deserve. However, pride, when left unchecked, can be one of the most destructive forces in our lives. It clouds judgment, fuels anger, and drives people to act in ways that are not true to their character. It often leads to actions that we later regret, causing more harm than good, not only to others but to ourselves as well. When we allow pride to guide our responses to hurt, we are allowing our emotions and our need to protect our ego to dictate our behavior. We might feel the need to retaliate, to make sure that the person who hurt us knows that we will not tolerate their actions. In that moment, pride convinces us that standing up for ourselves means demanding vengeance or making the other person feel the same way we feel. Yet, the harsh reality is that such responses only prolong the pain and create more division. What we perceive as strength in the moment is often a fragile illusion, built on the false belief that responding out of pride will bring us peace or satisfaction. Instead of finding resolution in a reaction driven by pride, we often find ourselves trapped in a cycle of conflict. When we lash out in pride, we escalate the situation, making it harder to resolve and often deepening the wounds. It is not uncommon for people to take pride in winning an argument or in delivering the perfect retort, but this short-term sense of triumph can never replace the long-term peace that comes from acting with wisdom and compassion. Pride seeks to defend the ego, but true strength lies in the ability to rise above the desire to win, to humble oneself, and to let go of the need to be right at all costs. Moreover, pride can blind us to the fact that we, too, are flawed. No one is perfect, and every individual, regardless of their character or intentions, will at some point make mistakes. When we allow our pride to rule our actions, we lose sight of our own humanity. We start to believe that our worth is dependent on being better than others, and this creates distance between ourselves and those we care for. We become more focused on defending our image and maintaining our perceived superiority, rather than fostering understanding or connection. When we approach hurt with pride, we often forget the importance of empathy. Empathy allows us to step outside of our own emotional pain and see things from the perspective of the other person. We may not agree with their actions or their behavior, but empathy allows us to understand that they, too, are human. They, too, are capable of making mistakes. Responding with pride, however, does not allow for this understanding. It keeps us trapped in a cycle of self-righteousness, where we focus on our own hurt and the need to protect our dignity, instead of considering the complexities of the situation at hand. The key to responding to hurt with wisdom is letting go of pride and embracing humility. Humility does not mean accepting disrespect or injustice, but it does mean choosing to act in a way that is aligned with our values, regardless of how the other person behaves. It requires the strength to resist the impulse to defend our ego and instead to focus on what will bring about resolution and healing. Humility is the ability to recognize that, while we may have been wronged, we are still capable of showing compassion, of seeing the humanity in others, and of responding in a way that elevates us both. When we remove pride from the equation, we open ourselves up to a greater sense of peace and understanding. We no longer feel the need to win or to prove ourselves to others. Instead, we respond based on our values and principles, not on the need to protect our image. This leads to more authentic interactions, deeper relationships, and a sense of inner peace that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. In conclusion, pride is a powerful force that can either serve us or sabotage us. When we respond to hurt with pride, we risk creating further conflict and emotional distance. But when we choose to let go of pride and embrace humility, we choose to rise above the pain, to act with grace and wisdom, and to foster deeper understanding and connection with others. True strength is not found in the defense of our ego, but in the courage to respond with humility, even in the face of hurt. When we are hurt by someone, especially someone close to us, it's easy to focus solely on the actions of that person and how those actions have affected us. However, in doing so, we often miss the deeper truths that could help us navigate the situation with more clarity and understanding. One of the most important truths to recognize in moments of hurt is that everyone has their own struggles, their own battles, and their own flaws. No one walks through life without facing challenges, and no one is without their moments of weakness. When we remember this, it becomes easier to understand that the hurt we feel may not necessarily be about us, but may be a reflection of something deeper in the other person. It's all too easy to assume that someone's actions are personal, that their words or behavior were deliberately intended to cause us pain. But often, the hurt we experience is a reflection of the other person's own inner turmoil. They may be carrying emotional baggage, unresolved issues, or past traumas that manifest in ways that affect those around them. Recognizing this allows us to approach the situation not with anger, but with compassion. We may not agree with or condone their actions, but we can seek to understand the underlying reasons for their behavior, rather than allowing ourselves to be consumed by the idea that we are the sole target of their negativity. Understanding that everyone is flawed and carries their own struggles also helps us realize that we, too, are imperfect. We may be quick to judge the actions of others, but we must remember that we are not above reproach. We all have moments where our own pain or frustrations seep into our interactions with others. There may be times when we unintentionally hurt someone, or when our own issues cause us to act in ways that are not aligned with our best selves. This awareness of our shared human imperfections fosters empathy and encourages us to approach hurt not with judgment, but with a willingness to learn and grow from the experience. Furthermore, when we recognize that people are carrying their own burdens, we begin to see the situation from a broader perspective. The person who hurt us may not have intended to cause harm, they may have been reacting to their own pain. This realization opens the door for compassion and forgiveness. It allows us to see them as more than just the person who hurt us, but as a fellow human being struggling with their own challenges. This understanding doesn't mean that we excuse or ignore their actions, but it allows us to respond in a way that is rooted in grace rather than anger. The act of recognizing that everyone is flawed also helps us let go of the need for perfection in others. We may have expectations of how people should behave, especially those we love, and when those expectations are not met, we feel hurt or betrayed. But when we acknowledge that no one is perfect, we are freed from the unrealistic standards that we place on others. We begin to accept people for who they are, flaws and all, and we understand that their imperfections do not diminish their worth or our relationship with them. This acceptance doesn't mean we allow people to treat us poorly, but it does mean we approach them with greater understanding and less judgment. It is also important to recognize that the person who has hurt us may not even be aware of the harm they have caused. Often, people act out of their own pain or frustration without considering the impact of their behavior on others. In these moments, our ability to approach the situation with understanding and compassion can make a world of difference. Instead of responding with anger or defensiveness, we can choose to communicate openly and honestly about how their actions have affected us, while also acknowledging the possibility that their behavior was not intentional. This approach fosters dialogue and creates space for healing, both for ourselves and for the person who has hurt us. When we accept that everyone is flawed and carries their own burdens, we take the first step toward creating deeper, more compassionate connections with others. We begin to approach conflict not as a battle to be won, but as an opportunity for growth and understanding. In doing so, we not only heal from the hurt we have experienced, but we also become more capable of offering forgiveness and compassion to others in the future. By recognizing the humanity in everyone, we allow ourselves to move beyond the pain of the moment and create stronger, more meaningful relationships built on empathy, understanding, and mutual respect. In the face of hurt, when emotions run high and the instinct is to react in anger or frustration, there lies a greater opportunity to embrace a different path, one that can change not only the situation, but also the dynamics of the relationship itself. Confusion, in this context, does not mean causing chaos for the sake of it, but rather it refers to introducing a response that is unexpected, one that doesn't mirror the aggression or aggression who has hurt you. By responding in a way that is calm, composed, and filled with grace, you create a space that disrupts the usual cycle of conflict and opens the door to something far more constructive. It is in this space of unexpected calm that true transformation can occur. That when we choose to confuse someone with a response that is not in line with what they expect, whether it is kindness when cruelty is expected, silence when anger is anticipated, or understanding in place of judgment, we take the power back. Instead of being drawn into the drama of the situation, we rise above it. It is not a matter of submitting to the other person's actions, but rather of choosing to be the master of how we respond. This approach breaks the cycle of retaliation and creates an opportunity for both parties to reassess their behavior. In many instances, people act out of their own hurt, insecurity, or frustration. They may not even be aware of the full impact of their actions on others. By responding with a surprising level of calm and understanding, we provide a moment for them to reflect. Our unexpected response may make them pause and reconsider their behavior as they come face to face with the realization that their actions did not elicit the reaction they anticipated. This pause, though subtle, is powerful. It invites introspection and forces them to confront the situation from a different angle. Rather than perpetuating the conflict, we provide an opportunity for growth for both them and ourselves. Additionally, responding in this way creates an emotional space that allows for healing. When we meet hurt with anger, the emotional wounds deepen and become more difficult to heal. The cycle of pain and retribution keeps us stuck, preventing us from moving past the conflict. But when we introduce confusion through a calm, measured response, we disrupt the cycle. It allows us to break free from the emotional entanglements that come with an angry reaction. This doesn't mean we suppress our feelings or deny our hurt, but rather that we allow ourselves the clarity to process our emotions without being controlled by them. By choosing a response that confuses the other person, we also prevent ourselves from being trapped in the victim role. When we respond with anger, we often feel like we are fighting to regain some form of power or control over the situation. But in reality, anger and retaliation only keep us anchored in a position of weakness because we are allowing the other person's actions to dictate our emotional state. However, when we confuse the situation by responding with a composed and thoughtful reaction, we reclaim our agency. We are no longer at the mercy of their behavior. We are consciously choosing how we want to engage with the moment. Moreover, this approach opens the door to dialogue. When we meet hurt with an unexpected response, it often compels the other person to engage with us in a more open and reflective manner. It challenges their assumptions about the situation and invites them to communicate in a way that is more constructive. It may even lead to them expressing their own hurt or frustration, which can provide a deeper understanding of the root causes of the conflict. By responding with grace and understanding, we create an environment where true communication can happen, and where resolution becomes possible. Ultimately, confusing someone with a calm, thoughtful response shifts the power dynamics in a way that allows for personal growth and healing. It doesn't mean we accept the wrongs done to us, nor does it imply that we let people walk all over us. Rather, it is about responding in a way that is above reproach, that stands firm in integrity, and that seeks peace rather than escalation. In confusing the other person with a response that is unexpected, we take the high road, one that leads to understanding, reconciliation, and mutual respect. Through this approach, we not only break the cycle of hurt, but also pave the way for healing, not just for ourselves, but for the relationship as a whole. In the face of hurt, we are presented with a choice: to respond with anger and pride, or to rise above and choose a path of calm, kindness, and understanding. While it is natural to want to retaliate or defend ourselves, true strength lies in our ability to act with wisdom, empathy, and humility. When we respond to hurt with restraint, we break the cycle of pain and create an opportunity for healing. By choosing kindness over cruelty, we show our true power, demonstrating that we are not defined by the actions of others, but by how we choose to react. When we let go of pride, we open ourselves to deeper connections, recognizing that we are all flawed, and that empathy and forgiveness pave the way for growth. And when we confuse others with a response rooted in grace and composure, we disrupt the conflict and create a space for reflection and change. Ultimately, by choosing peace over retaliation, we take control of our own narrative, building stronger, more resilient relationships and a more fulfilling path forward.